Nicholas Ryder, 29 North Lincoln Street. Now, do you want me to... You have my letter, so I assume you've read it. I don't need to read the letter? Or what do you want me to...
Just give us a brief view of your letter, if you would like.
Okay, well, I was, in response to hearing of a couple people getting tickets for parking overnight, or not even parking overnight, but parking past 1 a.m. On a public road, I looked into Section 9495 of the city ordinance, which is cited on the ticket for that parking, and it really has kind of vague verbiage as far as how it should be enforced. It says, this shall be a vehicle parked between the hours of 1 a.m. and 6 a.m. shall be deemed in violation of RSA 26231 et sec, which means and other sections, which is kind of vague. It doesn't really say what particular section of the state RSA. And it also says the vehicle shall be towed. And I found that to be curious, as most cars are just ticketed. And in my letter I bring up three main issues, mostly the fact that RSA 262 mentions that a vehicle that is obstructing snow removal or highway maintenance can be in violation, but nothing that says some sort of broad time period. The requirement is that the vehicle is indeed blocking snow removal, which would mean there would either have to be snow on the roads or plows would have to be running, something like that, for a vehicle to actually be in violation. I also mentioned that the shall be towed verbiage should probably be addressed, because most cars are ticketed, and that doesn't seem, according to the ordinances, as a legal action. And Part C of my issues was a plea to the City Council to take a reasonable stand on something like this, because there is the, as everyone knows, the 6-month summer period between May and November where cars can stand on the road all night, no issues. And in the middle of April, a lot of times we don't have any snow or any forecast of snow, so I would call the City Council to take a reasonable stand and not let citizens' cars get ticketed because of some arbitrary month/time requirement. I think I've basically covered the main issues, and I can respond to anything else that comes up, I think.
All right, I'd like to hear from the city attorney.
Well, I guess what I'd suggest is, and talk to the police chief as well, I mean, Mr. Ryder is bringing forward questions and comments that actually we've been thinking about within the staff for a while. Chapter 94 is already something that's under review through the city staff process, and some of the things that Mr. Ryder is raising, we've been talking about internally, different ways to handle winter parking, looking at other cities with respect to this. Some cities do it, they have a snow emergency sort of alert or report. Those are things that we're looking at, different kinds of parking on the street, one side, the other side. So these are all issues that we're already taking a look at, and have already made some changes to Chapter 94 with respect to other matters that the city's been working on. Certainly willing to take Mr. Ryder's comments into consideration in this process. As I said, we've already been thinking about some of them. So I think our suggestion would be, you might want to hear from other people in the audience here, but we suggest to the committee that you accept it as informational. We are hoping within not too many more months to come forward with the changes to 94, and at that point Mr. Ryder will have further comments, opportunity to comment on them. But we are considering the things that he's suggesting and appreciate the comments that he's making.
Anybody from the committee?
Yeah, through the chair to the city attorney. Tom, do you know when timeline this review is going to be complete?
Well, given we're entering into the budget season at this point, I'd have to sit and talk with the chief about some of the timeline with respect to it, but it's not going to be soon. It's over the next few months we've been working on this. But I would expect this certainly before the next winter season, because you're going to have this information before you start the summer, fall, sometime around there.
I would suggest that once you do get this in place, we have enough time to review it before the winter season comes in.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Mr. Ryder?
Maybe this is something the attorney or the police chief can answer. I appreciate the point that the city is already reviewing these things, but people are being ticketed now, and I think that needs to be addressed, as if it's even legal to be ticketing these cars according to the ordinance, and if the police should cease and desist that action, and at least until there's a review completed.
Well, I'm going to defer to the police chief on that question. I think from my perspective, I don't think the ordinance is that ambiguous. We can parse it if you wanted to, but at this point, I think that's an enforcement question that you really need to raise with the police chief.
Chief?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is a matter we've been discussing as of late, because we've been discussing the parking issues surrounding the fire station, and what would happen with that displaced parking, and how to replace it, and to look at some different ideas and venues about how to change the parking systems that we have in the city here. And part of that has been a discussion with the Public Works Director about, can we encompass overnight parking on the streets year-round, and how do we do that to make it work for street maintenance and snow removal and such. And we're starting to look at some systems right now, but we're just in the beginning stages because, as you know, we just started this process. Reference to the enforcement in issuing parking tickets, as we look at the language of this, where it says vehicles shall be towed, it's my position, has always been my belief, that that's the most extreme measure we could take. That we don't take that, but in the most extreme issue, that a vehicle does need to be towed because of winter maintenance or maintenance on the streets that has to be done in a vehicle towed in that respect. So discretion-wise, we issue parking tickets to educate citizens that this is a violation of our city ordinances during this period of time, to educate them and modify behavior relative to parking, and to educate them where they can park when they can't park on the city streets. So it is quite a matter to undertake, and something we're not going to fix in a month, but we do need to really look at these things. It's my opinion that we are ticketing using appropriate discretion in that matter, and that the ordinance does allow for it.
Well, and I appreciate that. I mean, it's my feeling on ordinances in general that we don't rush to change them. And if this is being reviewed, I'm all right waiting for it to see what the the final product is. I mean, we've gone through many ordinances here, and you always have rules of unintended consequences when you change an ordinance. So I'm always for the careful review of them. I mean, I think that they should take into consideration what you said. If we keep the overnight the way it is, I'd like to say that I don't think it would hurt anything to push it back to April instead of May. We don't get enough snow, I think, in April for it to be a problem. That's just my 2 cents worth while you're reviewing it. Anything further from the committee? Please.
I think I certainly don't want to see it changed right now. I mean, I see streets where there's parking during the day, and they're two-way streets, and only one car can go down them. I was on Adams Street today, and I had to sit there and wait while somebody came all the way from Baker past me before I could go. So I can't imagine. I mean, I think it's unfortunate that we've had all these snowstorms that really emphasize to me how we need this ordinance now. And I really do hope cars get off the street.
Any other thoughts? Anyone from the public?
Just throw my piece in. I spoke to the chief before this, and I thought that April was a fairly safe month to allow parking. If we get a snowfall, it might be 4 inches. In a day and a half, it's gone, whether it's plowed or not plowed. So I really find that date is a little arbitrary. I don't know how long this ordinance has been in effect. I should have checked. I didn't. But I think it's been in effect for at least 10 years.
Since I've been around.
And it's probably time that we take a look at it.
Name and address for the minute taker,
Well,
please.
I don't know. You might not want me to talk. I'm not from here, but I did live in Minnesota for 17 years.
But I still need your name and address.
Oh, my name's Elaine Ayer, and my address is 1690 Deer Creek Drive, Findlay, Ohio. And as you know, Minnesota gets a lot of snow, and what they do is they allow people to park on the road, and they give them 24-hour notice if they have to have their car removed from the street. And if it's not, then it's towed. But there are a lot of people, I mean, people have private homes and stuff, and they have driveways, but a lot of people, like in some sections of Minneapolis and St. Paul, are in apartments or condos, so they park on the street. But they can park on the street anytime in the winter unless they're given a 24-hour notice. And they do that by TV and apartment places are contacted. They call the person running it and then they notify. So that's how that's handled. That might be a city you want to look at to see how that's handled.
Excuse me, Chair, I need the spelling of your last name.
E-Y-R-E. Thank you.
Councilor Ruth Venezia King. I looked this over and I thought it was an interesting concept, and then I looked outside, and I'm downtown all the time, and I can't see any reason to rescind the no parking rule. School Street is bad enough as it is now. Pulling out of the driveways is very, very dangerous. And I've been in that house for 30 years, and in no way do I want to see parking in the winters on that street. We never know when it's going to snow. I mean, yeah, the weatherman's gotten a little bit better, but it's New England, and the old saying is you wait 5 minutes and the weather will change, and that is true. I think this is just making a mountain out of a molehill.
Ian Freeman, 63 Emerald Street.
I'm sorry, what's your last name?
Ian Freeman, 63 Emerald Street. Just a point of information, is the proposal, I was a little late, is the proposal to eliminate the ordinance or to make it so that the enforcement of it actually has to do with when it snows?
Is that a question to me?
Well, I think it should be directed to the chair.
Yeah.
My proposal was for the council to discuss it, discussing these several issues, including the fact, to go to Ms. Venencia's point, that despite her feelings of if the parking should or should not be in place, the ordinance calls that a car would be in violation of RSA 262, which I don't see any backing in that. I might be missing it. It's kind of a lengthy RSA, but I think there are legal issues here as well as practical issues.
If you were here at the beginning, the city attorney and the chief of police both said that this is currently under review, and that they're going to be coming back to us in the next couple of months, reviewing the whole RSA and making changes.
Well, as to what he had said earlier about, or what the chief had said regarding educating people, like the purpose of handing out these tickets was to educate them. It would seem to me that if you wanted to educate somebody, you wouldn't be extracting money from them, that you would leave them a note or something like that that was a little more friendly. So maybe on the nights when there's actually snow, it would make sense to enforce this. Outside of that, a nice note would be, I think, a little more appropriate.
Public Works Director?
Certainly. I think to help understand really the purpose of the snow and ice, this maintenance period, I think most people can relate to when a storm event is occurring. And if you're out, certainly during the day, you can see the difficulties that occur because of the vehicles and things that are on the road for our equipment to get around. Certainly in that 1 a.m. to 6 a.m. period, whether the event is going on or post-event, it allows us to more efficiently and effectively clear the streets. For example, now we're starting to bench back, meaning that we're going out and we're trying pushing the top section. You probably drive around, you will see the top section of the banks pushed back. We're going out, we're picking snow up at the intersection, things like that. So really this is not just strictly, the period isn't just strictly when an event is occurring, it's really designed for us throughout the entire season, because like this year we've been getting events about every 9 days, and typically it takes us 5 to 10 days following an event to get through all our activities, the cleanup, snow removal, things like that. So certainly, as both the attorney and the chief talked about, we are looking at this and saying how can we provide these things for the residents, but also how can we ensure that we can do the effective cleanup. Because all you have to do is look at Boston or New York, you see what the problems are when vehicles are left on the street, how much longer it takes to clear and get streets and things passable. So I just want to make sure that people understand that this is not just strictly during snow events. This is for the events and then the post-event cleanups and those activities that are required to keep the streets open.
Anyone else?
Michael Garcia, 176 Church Street. I just wanted to say I appreciated that the chief and the attorney, that they said they were looking into this. From what I've discussed with different residents, they feel that they get tickets when there's no trace of snow. They feel that it's not an educational tool, but so much to get a little bit of cash from them. So that's just their feeling they get. So when you get a ticket and there's no snow, you look at it and you say, I didn't obstruct the snow removal, so why am I getting this ticket? So I think I do applaud the idea of trying to change this. And really it is kind of, so the madam over there was saying that downtown it should not be changed at all, because absolutely not. There's a situation that may be different than another neighborhood, so it should be looked at how can the situation be improved on a case-by-case basis, to where if you're in one neighborhood and there's no obstruction, it should be handled differently than, say, downtown. So maybe changing the arbitrary nature of the enforcement. That would go a long way. And then residents wouldn't feel like they're being taken for all they're worth as far as the winter time. So that's all.
Anyone else?
Steve Zemanek, 29 North Lincoln Street.
Sorry, your last name?
Zemanek, Z-E-M-A-N-E-K.
Thank you.
I feel like he said, there's so many tickets being issued at the beginning of this period where there is no snow at all. I've seen them when it was completely dry conditions, no snow on the ground at all, no snow banks, absolutely no reason at all for there to be a ticket. I view this as complete, just trying to get revenue out of people. And and the other thing is, there's problems with snowbanks in the winter. That's understandable. There's problems with removing the snow from the streets. That's understandable. But when there's no snow to be dealt with at all, and it's not in anybody's way, what's the purpose of these tickets? And some people are only, people have gotten them for, parking for 20 minutes, dropping stuff off. I mean, it's ridiculous.
I move that the MSFI put this communication from Mr. Ryder on, handle as informational.
Second. To the city attorney, if you would notify Mr. Ryder when this is coming back up, because he wrote this letter and I think he should be here for that. I'm sure you guys have heard all these comments, and we'll incorporate the ones you can in the new ordinance. Anything further from the committee? All in favor? 4-0. All right. Transportation Center use report.
Thank you.
From staff.